Dr. Sam Ekundayo is an author, speaker, trainer. And the most interesting part also is that he's a man of God, he's a preacher, he's a life coach, he's a motivational speaker, he's a man of many parts.
So thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for this great privilege to be here and to speak to your audience. Really do not take that for granted at all. I'm very grateful. For those who don't know me, I am Dr. Samuel Ekundayo, often referred to as the Purpose Preacher. I always say that the mandate of God on my life is to help people discover their purpose so that they can maximize their potentials towards a fulfilled, impactful, and influential life. I do that through multiple expressions as a speaker, author, coach, and trainer.
Now, you've gone through process. Many people don't want to go through the process. Many people want to look for a shortcut to get what they want without trying to go through the process. So first, how do I even discover my originality, my potential, what I'm capable of doing, and how do I launch it out? Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much for asking that question. It's a very important question in our world today because we live in a world full of distractions. People no longer have vision. People are just treading from day to day like they're on a treadmill or on a roller coaster going nowhere. They're just making back and forth movement. They wake up, they go to work, and they die. They go to work, they go to work, wake up, go to work, die. Wake up, go to work, die. So it's a very important question. But one thing I love the most about that question is the fact that it says, how do I discover my originality, my authenticity in the world? Because you can't teach authenticity. You can't teach it. You have got to discover it. It's already within you. Authenticity comes from the core of who you are. From the core of who you are. So you've got to reach deep and discover it. Every single human being, including that person who look, poor right now, that person who look, unclear about what their life is all about right now, there is something about you that is special, that is unique, that is original, that is authentic, that you must discover for you to not die ordinary and live an ordinary life. So you must reach deep. I love this. I'm not sure whether you've seen this Golden Circle by Simon Sinek that he did in his book. There's Start With Why. There's this book of this, Start With Why, which is very powerful. You have this circle, and there are three circles. There are some concentric circles, and then there's some, there's a big circle. So there is the circle of what, there's a circle of how, and then there's a circle of why, which is right in the middle of that. And he speaks to you probably know Simon Sinek. He said people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell. And that means that the core of what you do has got to be the why. So if I go back to that question, to discover your authenticity, to discover your originality in a world that is noisy, is to literally discover your why. Why? What makes you think? Why do you exist? As a brand, why do you exist? Like when I introduced myself earlier on, I introduced myself as the purpose preacher that helps people discover their purpose so that they can maximize their potential. This is what I do every single day. When I wake up in the morning, the very first question I'm asking is, how do I help somebody discover their purpose? So what makes you unique? What makes you original? What is your authority? Because if you don't discover that, you will never be able to stamp your authority on the world. You will never be able to stamp your authenticity on the world. You will just be competing with other people, trying to look like somebody else, walk like somebody else, talk like somebody else every single day of your life.
Many people have heard about this over and over, but how do they navigate? How do I now discover what I can do, my originality? So maybe you can just help us with few tips of how do I discover that I can do this, I can do that, I am a teacher, I am an author. How do I discover that part of me?
Very, very important, because that part of us actually defines who we are. That part of us defines our identity. If you don't discover your authenticity, if you don't discover your why, you will literally just remain like everybody else. In fact, you will die and nobody will know who you are or that you even existed in the first place. So to discover why, I have a framework, 6 places that I say to look to discover, why why you are the way you are. Number 1 is to look within you. Within you are some gifts, some talents, some resources, your passion, your temperament. Even your temperament is a gift.
Yeah.
Some people see it as a weakness, whereas if you understand the strengths behind your talkativeness, like for years people call me talkative, and I would sometimes weep and cry and all of this. But the day I realized
he's paying so much for you.
The next thing is to look back Look back at some of your history, your story. I always say that your story is a gift as well. Some people don't know that their story is a gift. I don't care how unpalatable, how bad, how poor your story is, but the truth is your story is a gift. No one has your story. In fact, your uniqueness is embedded in your story. I don't care whether they speak like you speak or whatever, but there is something about your story that is unique. Nobody has it. And I always like to also say that your story is your glory. In other
Wow.
words, your authenticity can be rooted in your story. There are many brands today that are flourishing because of their story. Because of their story. Take Oprah for example. Take Tony Robbins for example. Like these people literally thrive on their story. All right. And so one way to really find your authenticity in a noisy world is to look at your story. There is something you do at the level of capital God that you must discover about yourself. It's the source of your authenticity, your originality, your authority on the world. All right, there are other attributes, but I will just stop there, and then I'll move on to there's another place to look. You can also look around you. There are problems around you that appears to be calling out your name, and they appear to only be calling out your name. In fact, your friends cannot notice it. Your friends do not notice it. It's like this problem is always shouting out your name. For
Wow.
instance, some people just don't. One of my students. So we have a school called the School of Purpose and Influence, right? And I
Okay.
love this
Good.
example. So one of my students, we have daily devotionals, which have been prepared for quite a while, and then we put all the daily devotionals together and just put it on the course platform, which students will log in every day to read the daily devotional. One of my students messaged me one day, said, "Dr. Sam, I've been noticing some English grammatical errors in these devotionals, and I just couldn't let it pass." Is there something we can do about it? I said, absolutely. The reason why you are the only one that noticed and the
I
only
can
person
speak.
that emailed among 143 students is simply because you are the one gifted to solve the problem. The young man said, absolutely, he's going to do it. Because that is the only reason why he noticed it. The only reason why he made him angry and sad and weak and whatever is because he's been gifted to solve that problem. I want to speak to somebody watching this right now. The only reason why you are angry about some things in your country, in your community, in your environment, all around you, in your neighborhood, you wake up every single day, you come out, but your problem is that you're always complaining about it. You have not yet discovered what God has put inside of you to solve that problem, because the source of your authority and your authenticity and your originality in the world is the solution that you bring to that problem. Every single one of us, we are working solutions. The only problem is that we don't believe it.
What are the attributes that makes your brand authentic? Maybe you want to give us few attributes that makes your brand authentic. What are the things that is critical to get that your brand to be exceptional in a noisy digital marketplace?
Thank you, sir. I would like to call them not necessarily attributes. I'll call them principles, because principles are unbendable, unbreakable. If we use the word principles, people would understand how important it is. Number one is the principle of focus. Someone said, if you can get your focus right, you will get your life right. We live in a distraction-filled world. If you can get your focus right, you will get your life right. Many people are completely unproductive today and ineffective because they are distracted. They want to do 55 things at the same time. You want to do 55 things in 5 minutes. And I study psychology and neuroscience on my part-time, right? And there was a time I stumbled on the research, and I realized there is nothing called multitasking. There is nothing. I remember when I was a young professional, I would put on my CV, I would say, there's this way I normally put it. I say I'm a multitasker par excellence. I multitask at the highest level of precision and accuracy. Rubbish. There is nothing. It's rubbish. That statement is rubbish. There is nothing called multitasking. What we do two things fast-paced. We take our attention away from one and quickly switch our attention to the other. So what we are doing is we are switching our attention fast-paced. You are less productive on one, more productive on the other. It is not you being productive on the two. But what I've come to realize a key principle in actually helping us to be known for what we do, be an authority and be authentic, is to actually be focused. What would you like to be known for? If I mention Samson Olatunde, what should I mention next after that name?
Great.
If I don't have anything to mention next after that name, Samson Olatunde's brand is not yet working. Number two is the principle of mastery. Nobody pay general people. They only pay specialists.
Wow. I tell people all the time.
You must be a student of your domain. You must gain mastery in your domain. If you are not living a life of mastery, you are living a life of mystery. And time will not permit me to go too deep on that one. You must be a master of your domain. Another principle is the principle of networking. You must network with the right people. And there are many more.
So, value. In this part of the world, people tend to believe more on packaging than content. I mean, so in a developed world, people believe more in your content. What stuff are you made of? Just like you have said, if they mention your name, what can we see? So you see a lot of people over package, and then when you get access to them, you're like, what is this? So how do people blend that aspect of perception in the marketplace and the real value, which is the content?
Thank you very much. I often say that a true personal brand, an effective personal brand, is when you've been able to close the gap between who you are now and who you really were created to be. When you close the gap, when people cannot see the difference between who you are now and who you were created to be, your authenticity is who you are created to be, right? Your authenticity is your originality. If you're able to close that gap and there's no difference between who people say you are and who you are actually striving to become, that is where you would realize, aha, I have an effective personal brand here that is speaking to people. But how do you do that? How do you close that gap? Number one is to be your true self. Find your true self and just be it. You know, being it means find your message, find what makes you tick, your why, all of those things that we've been talking about. And that way you realize you don't have to copy. Because if you are a fake person and you are just, you know, packaging, full of packaging, no problem. People may be deceived by the packaging at first, right? It's more like when you look at a tree and then you say, oh, that thing looks like mango, and you gravitate towards it, right? And then you eventually get the mango. The moment you take the first bite, you're like, oh my goodness, what rubbish. The worst thing that can happen is that it's not just that you will not come again to the mango tree. You go and tell other people that mango tree is not mango at all. This is where many brands fall and die. Because when people experience you and they realize, no, this is not genuine, this is not authentic, this is not true, this does not show mastery, like we've said earlier on, then they will go and tell other people to forget it. There was a time somebody told me, let me quickly share this and then we finish. You know, someone told me, I said, oh, I've attended that person's masterclass before, but that masterclass I didn't learn anything from it. I was like, what? You know, and there's all this packaging and everything from there. It's because people have experienced that person to realize there's nothing there, no content. It's just packaging. Please don't be like that. It may take you a while, it may take you a longer time to actually be known for what you do if you're working on your content, but you will remain and you will last for a longer time than that person working on packaging above authenticity and value. So value is the way to go. Value is what you should spend time on. Take your time and, you know, go into the process of building yourself as a person of value and not just as a person of packaging. Packaging doesn't last. People will eventually discover that you're just packaging it in the first place. So go for the true, authentic self, and you will last. You will even last beyond your life.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doctor. It's a great privilege for us to have you here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, sir.